Hi guys, it's Dee and welcome to Dee's Yard. So today I want to share with you the process I take from going from a blank space to a flower bed. From planning to planting, I like to break this project down into steps or stages because I don't know if you were anything like me, but sometimes creating a new area from scratch can be very overwhelming. A lot of the time, I do not know what I want the end product to look like, which I think is totally normal. Most of the time, I just go with the flow and start the project. Usually once I get it going, it generally starts coming together. And it won't be perfect, I am not expecting it to be, but that is the beauty of gardening. You can change what you want, move plants that don't work out, nothing has to be permanent. And the best part about mistakes is the education and knowledge that you gain. Plus, let's be honest, there are no rules when it comes to gardening. The first step I always start with is picking a space and learning the sun and shade requirements of that area. The main things to look for, other than how much direct sun an area gets, is any current structures or plants. Now I have 2 trees on the outskirts and a fence that borders my backyard. Eventually, I will be replacing all the wired fencing with wood fence so it's all uniform. But for now, I'm going to be focusing on planting this area in front of the fence and adding in more height. I won't be tackling either side of this new flower bed in this project, and that's the other thing. Don't feel like you must do everything at once. I like to address one area in my yard at a time. For example, beginning of last year, I focused on the bed around my back porch. Midsummer, I worked on the area around my garden shed, and early fall, I created a woodland garden by my koi pond, and that just helps my brain stay organized and not overwhelmed. I just work on one project at a time, take an area this size or smaller, work on it, get it done, and then I move on. But before we go any further, I really need to give this fence some TLC. It needs to be repaired, power washed, restained, and painted. Doesn't the fence look so much better? Eventually, we will be getting rid of the wired fence and extending the wood on either side. But now that I've selected location and assessed the area, it is now time to create the borders for the flower bed. You can use either spray paint or hose to help with this. I prefer a natural wavy border. Once I'm happy with the shape, I use either my half moon edging tool or a trenching shovel to create the space. And just a tip to make this job easier, edge after it's rained. If you have enough time, I recommend the no-dig method. To prepare your flower bed, cover the weeds and grass with cardboard and a layer of compost, and then mulch. Do this in the fall for a spring planting, or prepare the site now and it will be ready for planting in the fall. The ground is currently too wet to till, but I'm going to show you 2 different methods to prepare the garden. The first one is just to remove the grass and weeds. The pros of this method is it permits immediate planting and avoids the use of chemicals and power tools. The cons are it is very labor intensive and it removes organic matter. This is back-breaking work and it is not my favorite task. I recommend and prefer to use the smother or sheet mulching method. Lay cardboard or newspaper over the grass as it is a better alternative. This is by far the easiest way to remove grass, and it leaves the original organic matter in place, which does not disrupt the soil structure. And don't worry, you won't see any sign of cardboard once we are finished mulching. Now it's time to start picking out some plants that will do great in this area. During this winter, I did a lot of dreaming and planning online, and one nice feature on fastgrowingtrees.com is the wish list. I can browse and save plants that I'm interested in, and as much as I love going to a garden center, let's be honest, they just don't have a selection during the winter, and it seems I can never get enough information or have enough time to plan a garden while I'm there. Plus, let's be honest, there's nothing like having plants delivered right to your door. So let me show you what I'm thinking. Here's the new garden area that I just created. Just imagine that the border was rounded out. Here's my back fence that I just repaired, and the area that I'm planting has a natural backspace from the fence structure. So I want to plant in layers. The goal is to start taller and work my way down to shorter plants. I also want to bring some more height to this area, so I'm going to start with a Jane Magnolia. The Jane Magnolia blooms a couple weeks later than the early blooming magnolias like the Star Magnolia, which means you don't have to worry about bud damage. It has a gorgeous tulip-shaped flowers that arrive prior to the foliage and hang around for about a month or so. On the one corner of the fence, I'm thinking of a Moonglow Juniper. This juniper has exceptionally showy silver to blue foliage on a broad pyramidal form. This tough plant has a dense, compact branching habit that resists grazing by deer. The last plant I'm adding on the back row is a Miss Kim Lilac. This is an upright, compact Korean lilac that produces clusters of very fragrant lavender purple panicle-shaped blooms in the spring until summer. This is one of the few lilacs that do great in the south because it's quite resistant to powdery mildew. Stair-stepping down to my middle layer, I think 2 Miss Molly butterfly bushes will fit perfectly. This is a non-invasive buddleia that has ruby reddish pink and fragrant flowers that attracts butterflies and hummingbirds while resisting deer. It blooms from summer all the way into late fall, and no need to deadhead. Next, I'm finishing off this layer with a Cryptomeria, Globosa nana, also known as a dwarf Japanese cedar that retains a natural, dense, dome shape with little care. The foliage becomes a rusty red in the winter. To complement the 2 butterfly bushes, I'm thinking of another summer bloomer, Pocomoke Crape Myrtle. This is a unique dwarf-sized multi-stem shrub with panicles of dark rosy pink flowers that bloom throughout the summer. To complement the lilac, I'm thinking 3 encore azaleas called Autumn Debutante. This evergreen shrub features pretty soft pink blooms and blooms in the spring, summer, and fall. This is truly a 4-season plant. Then to finish off the look, 3 sun-loving Bobo Hydrangeas will be perfect for this area. This is a dwarf panicle hydrangea which has strong stems, so no flopping. It blooms large white flowers in the summer, which as they age turn pink. After picking out plants that I love, the first thing I need to ensure is winter interest. What in this area will still look great when everything is in their dormant state? Because I want a 4-seasons garden, I like to plant an evergreen element for each level. My winter interest plants are the Moonglow Juniper, Globosa nana, and the 3 encore azaleas. The main spring bloomers are the Jane Magnolia, Miss Kim Lilac, and the 3 Autumn Debutante. For the summer and fall bloomers, we have the 2 Miss Molly butterfly bushes, the Pocomoke Crape Myrtle, Bobo Hydrangeas, and also the encore azaleas. I always like to place the plants out, measure for spacing when needed, and stand back to ensure everything is where I like before I start digging. Now it's time to plant. I'm located in East Tennessee, Zone 7A, and I have clay soil. The easiest way for me to dig in my native soil is using a trenching shovel. For each plant, I dig a hole 2 to 3 times the width of the root ball, but no deeper than the root ball height. Because I have very dense clay, I always amend my native soil with something called pine bark soil conditioner, which contains grounded up pine bark. I incorporate this into the soil to add organic matter, help loosen up the compacted soil, and allow for drainage. I also add in biotone starter fertilizer to help with transplant shock and help the roots to establish. Now, if I have a fast draining sandy soil, then I may want to mix in a good compost, 50-50. But if I'm not sure what type of soil I have, then just backfill with your native soil because it's best not to amend your soil than to amend it with the wrong thing. Now this Moonglow Juniper is not root bound at all, but if the roots are wrapped around tightly, you want to go in there and loosen up the root memory. The first thing I do when I place my plants in the planting hole is to make sure that the top of the root ball is not sitting below ground level. Because I have clay soil, I want all of my root balls mounded up at least 1 inch above the soil grade. And now I just backfill. I also gently tamp around the root ball to ensure that there are no big air pockets around the roots. When mulching, make sure that nothing that came in that nursery pot is covered. Mulch should never be volcanoed up on the plant and touching the trunk. When watering, make sure to water the entire area, not just the root ball. You guys, I love the way that this area turned out, and I can't wait to plant some annuals in around the border and in some of the empty spaces just to fill in the area until the shrubs mature. Now, just for reference, this area does get full sun until about mid to late afternoon, and then the cypress shades to about here, which is perfect conditions for these encore azaleas and the lilac. Although the Miss Kim Lilac is quite small right now, it matures around the 6 to 8 foot tall and wide range, so I left it plenty of space to grow into. It is completely budded up and will be in bloom very soon. But what I think I am most excited about is adding this Jade Magnolia into the landscape. I love the fact that I won't have to worry about bud damage because it doesn't bloom until April or May compared to the other early blooming magnolias. Jade also tends to rebloom throughout the summer, making an excellent tree for smaller yards and landscapes reaching only 10 to 15 feet in height and 5 to 10 feet in width. And how awesome is this Moonglow Juniper? I am very excited to have this silver blue evergreen. It's low maintenance, deer resistant, and can fit in smaller areas. It gets about 10 to 15 feet tall and 4 to 6 feet wide. And then I have 2 Miss Molly butterfly bushes by Proven Winners that bloom this gorgeous reddish pink blooms that attract all the pollinators. They will both fill this area in beautifully, growing 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. And you guys, how fun is this Cryptomeria Globosa Nana or dwarf Japanese cedar? The foliage is so inviting and makes you want to touch it, and it doesn't bite back like some evergreens do. This is such a low maintenance plant that can reach up to 4 to 6 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide, but can be easily maintained at a compact structure. This one still has a little bit of its red winter color left. The Pocomoke Crape Myrtle isn't much to look at right now because it's still in its dormant stage, but this is such a unique dwarf-sized crepe myrtle that maintains a spherical form and will complement the Miss Molly blooms with its own rosy pink flowers come summertime. It stays compact around 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. When it comes to encore azaleas, you really can't ask for more out of this 4-season plant. Autumn Debutante blooms a pretty soft pink bloom during the spring, summer, and fall, all while remaining an evergreen. They'll reach around 4 feet tall and wide. And for the front 3 shrubs, I settled on 3 Bobo Hydrangeas from proven winners. Like the crepe myrtle, they have yet to leaf out, but will very soon. This is a dwarf pentacle hydrangea with very strong stems that can fit in any landscape, averaging around 2 to 3 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. I cannot wait for their beautiful white blooms this summer. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video about how I go about planning and planting a new area has helped and inspired you. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.